Entering the apocalyptic game, there can only be one winner. The other players tricked me into choosing the telling the truth ability. They laughed at me, saying that those who tell the truth die quickly in this game. Unexpectedly, I immediately reported the situation to the country and leaned on the country for support. With just my words, I soared alongside the country. 60 players were transported to the apocalyptic game world. The system informed us that all players had already died in the real world. To have a chance of resurrection, we must survive until the end of the game. Each player must choose a corresponding ability. The shelf displayed various abilities, and the players couldn't wait to start grabbing them. Suddenly, someone patted me on the shoulder. The tall man numbered 23 asked me with concern, "Player 22, how did you die?" I scratched my head and replied, "I think I was hit and killed by a car running a red light." Player 23 said, "That's really tragic. My name is Finn, and I also died in a car accident. I'll take care of you in the game." I was deeply touched, thinking I had met a kind-hearted person. He then said, "Little sister, choose this ability. It's extremely powerful." There were only a few abilities left on the shelf. Trusting him, I chose that ability. When I took it, I saw that it was the telling the truth ability. Finn couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha, so stupid, you actually chose it." Other players also looked our way. Telling the truth, come on, telling the truth in an apocalyptic game is just ridiculous. The sooner you die, the sooner you can be reborn. This kind of game isn't for fools. Everyone has chosen their abilities, and each player has an initial identity. The apocalypse will begin in 1 year. Please prepare as soon as possible. Please note that there is only one winner in this game. Only the player who survives until the end is eligible for the resurrection reward. Now, teleportation commences. Before teleportation, Finn suddenly stopped me. "Oh, I forgot to tell you, the person who hit and killed you. It was me, idiot." He triumphantly made a throat-slitting gesture, looking extremely arrogant. The light shifted, and when I opened my eyes again, I was standing in front of the sink in the women's restroom. The system forcefully stuffed identity information into my mind. "Look, if it isn't Hannah." A sarcastic voice came from behind me. Nora, relying on being the daughter of the school board chairman, had bullied many people. I turned to leave, but her lackeys blocked my way. 3 people, 6 hands. They pushed and shoved me against the corner. Nora took out my wallet. "Poor students shouldn't be allowed to study at our school." I opened my mouth to beg for mercy, but what came out shocked everyone. "Your father is no longer on the school board. He owes 900 million yuan from gambling on football. The police will come to arrest him this afternoon." Nora's smile froze on her face. She raised her hand to hit me. My mouth kept going. "Your boyfriend Gabriel is lying to you. He has AIDS and has infected your best friend. Your medical examination report from the day before yesterday will come out today. I suggest you go to the hospital now." But it wasn't her hitting me. It was her phone falling to the ground. A WeChat message was displayed on the screen. "Nora, look at the news. Your father." Nora turned pale and hurriedly picked up her phone. Her lackey whispered, "Could what she said be true?" My mouth continued to rub salt in the wound. "Oh, and you too, to the left. Your mother is having an affair with Lao Wang from next door at the Hilton this afternoon. To the right. Your father's illegitimate child will come tomorrow." The 3 of them dashed out of the restroom as if they had seen a ghost. Nora's hysterical shout came from behind. "Dad, answer my call." I leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. It seems that this telling the truth ability is quite powerful. To figure out how my ability worked, I decided to conduct an experiment. I couldn't ask and answer questions myself. My ability only activated when others asked me questions. My roommate took out a high math problem. Before I could even finish reading it, my mouth blurted out the answer. When my roommate asked me the first 300 digits of pi, my mouth almost couldn't stop. My roommate's eyes lit up. She took out a poster of her favorite celebrity. Is he secretly married? He has 2 children who are old enough to help with household chores. The mother of the children is XX. She grabbed my hand. "Hannah, your ability can make money." But my mouth said, "Think bigger. The apocalypse is coming soon. And I must report it to the country immediately." Under my roommate's shocked gaze, my mouth recited a phone number. "Write this down and send 3 text messages to this number." My mouth made 3 predictions. In the Eagle country's presidential election, All will be elected president with 277 votes tomorrow. The 22nd typhoon, Ginkgo, will change its course at 5 a.m. on the 6th, moving towards the west and heading towards the waters near the Bashi Channel on November 6th. The closing prices of the A-share market will be Shanghai Composite Index at 3,383.81 points, Shenzhen Component Index at 10,968.14 points, and Chi-Next Index at 2,265.83 points. Shortly after sending the text messages, the mysterious number replied, "Who are you? What do you want?" I replied, "When all three predictions come true tomorrow, come and find me." Then I turned off my phone and started organizing materials. The next day, when I turned on my phone, a flood of ringtones and text message alerts poured in. Just as I was at a loss, a man in a suit appeared at the classroom door. As I left, I heard my classmates whispering that I had gotten into trouble and was being arrested. For an hour later, I was sitting in a white room with a metal table in front of me. There were cameras on all four walls. Besides Minister George from the Ministry of State Security, there were three experts, a military personnel, a scientist, and another expert. All three predictions were completely accurate. Minister George closed the file. "Hannah, I need you to undergo a series of tests to verify your ability. If you can truly predict the future, it's of utmost importance to national security," the military representative asked seriously. "If you can really predict the future, tell us, what major decisions will our military department make next Monday?" My mouth automatically replied, "Next Monday. You will decide to add 3 new military bases in the South China Sea and approve a research and development plan for a new, type stealth fighter jet, codenamed Goshawk." His face changed, and he quickly recorded on his tablet. The scientist asked, "Will quantum computers eventually be commercialized? When, currently, China will overcome the problem of quantum decoherence and achieve stable control of 128 qubits. According to the plan, practical quantum computers will be available in 3 years, but after the apocalypse arrives, all this will be interrupted." The last expert, whose identity hadn't been revealed, asked gently, "Hannah, do you know who I am?" A micro-expression expert, observing whether I'm lying. The micro-expression expert nodded at Minister George. Minister George signaled the others to leave, leaving just the two of us. "Hannah, you mentioned the apocalypse earlier. What does that mean?" I told him that a disaster would strike in a year and that only one person could survive until the end. Over the next hour, I elaborated in detail on the transmission routes, fatality rate, and incubation period of the zombie virus, as well as how it would destroy global order. Minister George's expression grew graver. "If what you say is true, this will be the greatest crisis in human history." I took out the documents I had organized these days. "This is the response plan I've drawn up. It covers food reserves, medical supplies, border control, social order, etc. Each item has been simulated to minimize the mortality rate as much as possible." Minister George quickly scanned the documents, and his frown gradually relaxed. "The thinking is very clear. China has a head start. If we start planning now, we can save the most people during this catastrophe. And what? I also know the movements of the other players. This is a game." Minister George keenly caught the key word. My mouth began to explain the game rules, the players' identities, and the existence of the system in detail. Even Minister George, who had seen many big events, couldn't hide his shock. "The other players only need to survive until the end themselves, but I want everyone to survive together. That's why I contacted the country," I said seriously. "I need the country's strength, and the country needs my ability." Minister George pondered for a moment. "You will be added to the highest level protection list. From now on, every one of your predictions will directly influence national decisions. I promise that we will use the power of the entire country to prevent this disaster. It's difficult to survive in the apocalypse with the telling the truth ability alone, but I found the right helper. This country is worthy of my truth." 5. The apocalypse was drawing closer. The whole country entered a state of highest level alert, and the construction of shelters began secretly everywhere. I was in a manor in Beijing, surrounded by heavily armed special forces who guarded it day and night. Every day, people from the military, scientific research institutions, and government departments came to consult me. My schedule was packed. Over the past few months, China had seemed to be on a roll, unlocking decades worth of future human technology. The electronic screen in the conference room displayed various progress details densely: quantum computer RD progress, 80%, controlled nuclear fusion testing phase 3, room temperature superconductivity preparing for trial production, ninth generation aircraft made a major breakthrough, brain machine interface experiment completed, underground agriculture technology trial phase completed. I looked at the green data flashing on the giant electronic screen in the conference room with satisfaction. These were not fantasies or beautiful visions on PPT, but real, life scientific and technological achievements. Hannah, these data are very encouraging. Minister George walked up to me and handed me a cup of hot tea. We owe it all to you, I exclaimed. It's incredible. Under normal circumstances, it might take 10 or 20 years to achieve all this. When the national machine operates at full speed, its efficiency is astonishing. Minister George's eyes sparkled with pride. Do you want to see more? I nodded. Minister George tapped on his tablet a few times, and the large screen switched to another interface, a national map. National Emergency Supplies Reserve Completion Rate, 89%. Shelters in first tier cities construction completed, 76%. Shelters in second tier cities construction completed, 63%. Shelters in third tier and below cities planning completed, 85%. Hundreds of blinking blue dots were densely distributed on the map. These are the underground shelters we've built so far. Each shelter can accommodate 100,000 people and is equipped with a complete living facility and medical system. Most importantly, they are completely sealed. Once the zombie virus breaks out, people who move into the shelters can be completely isolated from the virus. Looking at these blue dots, I exclaimed. How much did it cost to build so many shelters? Minister George smiled mysteriously. That's where you come in. Thanks to your ability, we've saved tens of billions of yuan in RD funds, plus, with the strategies you provided to the economic experts for global resource reserve planning, the national treasury is well stocked. I felt a bit embarrassed by the praise and scratched my head. Ah, right. The screen switched again, this time showing a military map. Hundreds of red dots were marked on the map, covering all strategic locations across the country. The deployment of Special Forces units to deal with zombies is complete. These 500 Special Forces units are specifically for combating zombies. They are equipped with the most advanced weapons and equipment and have a much higher training level than regular troops. We've also established dozens of biological isolation zones across the country to house suspected infected people. These areas are heavily guarded and provide the best medical conditions. On the large screen, people were busy yet orderly, and everyone had a determined look on their faces. I couldn't help but sigh. This was the power of our national machine. In the face of disaster, it was always organized, planned, and highly capable of action. But not all national machines have such capabilities. Only China in the world can do it. There's one more thing you might want to know. Minister George smiled mysteriously and led me to the other end of the conference room, where there was a thick metal door. A huge control center was revealed before my eyes. Dozens of technicians sat at the operation consoles, and the screens on the wall displayed real-time images from around the world, from Times Square in New York to Trafalgar Square in London, from Shinjuku in Tokyo to the Eiffel Tower in Paris. The global monitoring system has become this high definition. I was almost speechless. Minister George said proudly. Now we have access to 90% of the world's real-time intelligence. Once the zombie virus breaks out, we'll know immediately and take corresponding measures. Just then, a young intelligence officer hurried over. Minister George, we've detected abnormal activities at the Eagle Country's BL4 laboratory. Minister George's expression immediately turned serious. What's going on? We spotted the figure of a player having abnormal contact with the laboratory. I had already told Minister George all the information about the players, so to speak. We now knew the movements of all the players. The intelligence officer brought up a clear photo, and I immediately recognized that annoying face, Finn. My heart sank. Minister George looked at me, seemingly understanding my thoughts. He asked me, "Why is Finn at the laboratory?" My mouth automatically replied, "Finn's ability is to control and generate viruses. he collaborated with the Eagle country's BL4 laboratory to synthesize the zombie virus in advance and create the first batch of zombies. It turned out that Finn was the source of the virus, chosen by the system. Ding dong, the voice of the system rang in my mind. I opened the player game interface, and the system was issuing an announcement. Welcome back, players. Due to the excellent performance of player 23, who has developed the zombie virus, the apocalypse has been advanced. Player 2, damn, can it still be played like this? Player 18, fortunately, I have built a safe house in advance. It won't be a problem to survive until the end. Goodbye, everyone. Player 60, if we find player 23 and kill him, will it be over? Player 23, Finn. Player 60, I can see what you're saying. Then you'll be the first to die. Player 60, don't scare people. Player 23, hee hee. I closed the interface and took a deep breath. The apocalypse has been advanced. My words caused a commotion in the conference room. Minister George was silent for a moment and then began to ask me questions systematically. What are the characteristics of the zombie virus? What about its transmission routes and the incubation period? He asked and I answered. Soon, we figured out the transmission routes, incubation period, and infection symptoms of the zombie virus. Can we develop a vaccine or an antidote? This is the game rules set by the system. The virus is essentially an energy entity and does not follow the principles of conventional biology. Humans cannot develop a vaccine or medicine to completely prevent the infection. Minister George's face became even graver. Then what means do we have to fight against it? Zombies have weaknesses. Destroying the brainstem can immediately stop their activities. The activity of the zombie virus will be greatly reduced in an environment below -30 degrees Celsius or above 70 degrees Celsius. The scientists in the conference room recorded this information. The laboratory in the Eagle country definitely didn't expect that China had a more comprehensive understanding of the virus than they did. Suddenly, my ability to tell the truth told us a crucial piece of information. A blue crystal stone will be produced in the brains of zombies. This crystal stone is the material carrier of the system and can enable some humans to develop special abilities. Blue crystal stone. Minister George quickly grasped the key term. Is this the weakness of the system? Not exactly, but it is the connection point between the system and the real world. More importantly, when humans with potential come into contact with the crystal stone, there is a chance for them to awaken their special abilities. Minister George's eyes lit up. Then, which people have this potential? Gene testing can conduct a preliminary screening, and then human trials can be carried out. However, that is the strategy of other countries in the later stage. Our country doesn't need to do that. I can directly tell you which people within China will awaken their special abilities. The people present looked at me with even more clarity in their eyes. My mouth began to report a long list of names and identity information. The intelligence personnel recorded it quickly, and on the other side, arrangements were already being made to contact these potential ability users. There are more than 3,000 ability users in the world, and China accounts for 578 of them. Suddenly, I said a familiar name. Gabriel, a student at the military academy, will awaken the ability of biological manipulation, which can control the cell activities within organisms. Minister George was stunned. My son, I nodded, yes. His ability plays a crucial role in this virus crisis. If we get the crystal stones from the brains of the first batch of zombies one step ahead, China will be able to have a super powerful ability army, even more powerful than the players. At that time, the other 59 players selected by the system will be no match at all. 4 hours later, the national emergency mobilization began. On the first day, 108 people were summoned. Looking at these potential ability users behind the glass, I, who was full of confidence, suddenly felt a little worried. A girl with double ponytails, wearing a pink Lolita dress, was taking a selfie. Next to her was a burly man with a full beard, showing off his tattoos with his bare chest. In the corner, a little boy in his early teens was playing with his watch, and an old man with a walking stick was sitting on a chair, dozing off. Gabriel, Minister George's only son, was also among them. He was wearing a military academy uniform and stood out from the crowd. Most of them looked dazed, not understanding why the country would suddenly come to them. After all, the apocalypse, zombies, and such things only appear in movies. The secretary standing next to me whispered, They don't look like heroes who can save the world, to be honest, they really don't. But I don't look like someone who holds the lifeline of the world either. In the following days, there will be dedicated personnel to conduct special training for them, because in a month, some people will go to the battlefield. 7. I was checking a transparent large screen in the safe house. The screen was divided into more than 20 small windows, and each window displayed surveillance images from different angles. The venue of the Eagle Country Youth Games. Gabriel, put on your contact lenses. I can't see anything. I was referring to a pair of high-tech contact lenses that could transmit everything Gabriel saw to the screen here. Why should I listen to a little girl like you? Gabriel's voice came through the earphone, with a hint of impatience. He was adjusting his sportswear, and there was a China competition badge hanging on his chest. Minister George, just put them on when I tell you to. While putting on the contact lenses, Gabriel said, Dad, can we be a bit more scientific, you brat? What did I tell you before you left? Obey Hannah's command in everything, or I'll beat you when you come back. Gabriel put on the contact lenses reluctantly. Finn and his group planned to release the virus at today's opening ceremony to infect young athletes from various countries. He adjusted the incubation period of the virus to 14 days, and when the athletes returned to their home countries, they would become sources of transmission. Minister George contacted the military expert through the communicator. Is the Special Operations Team ready? All in position. We have 30 Special Forces soldiers disguised as staff members, distributed throughout the venue. In addition, the 5 potential ability users led by Gabriel have also entered the venue as athletes. I brought up another screen, which displayed a 3-dimensional map of the venue. The red dots marked the positions of our personnel, and the yellow dots were the suspicious targets we had locked on. Where is Finn? Minister George asked. My mouth automatically replied, he didn't come to the scene in person. Instead, he sent 3 players who joined hands with him. Player 27, Harrison, has the ability of instant teleportation. Player 41, Victoria, has the ability of mental control. And player 59, Isaac, has the ability of electromagnetic interference. They are disguised as staff members of the Eagle Country and lurking in the venue. The supercomputer immediately brought up the profiles of these 3 players and showed them to our personnel present. What is their action plan? They plan to spread the virus to every corner of the venue through the ventilation system. Gabriel punched the wall. Damn it, most of the people here are from their own country. They don't care about human lives at all. On the screen, athletes from various countries entered the venue one after another, and half of the audience seats were already occupied. The opening ceremony would begin in half an hour. Suddenly, my mouth said uncontrollably, they have taken action ahead of time. Harrison has already reached the ventilation system control room. I stared at the screen and saw several yellow dots start to move quickly. Gabriel, there is a teen doctor from the Eagle Country wearing a white coat in the corridor of the North Gate. He is holding a silver suitcase in his hand. And that's the virus carrier inside. Suddenly, the surveillance images on the screen one by one turned into snowflakes. The technician, the signal has been interfered with. They had prepared in advance and let Isaac release strong electromagnetic waves, interfering with all satellite signals. Fortunately, the equipment on Gabriel and the Special Forces was the latest research achievement of China, and the impact was relatively small, but the signal also became extremely unstable. My heart was pounding, but my mouth was unusually calm. Gabriel and Team A go to the ventilation system on the 2nd floor. Player 41, Victoria, is at the door. She can control your thoughts. Don't look her in the eyes. Team B goes to intercept the virus. Everyone be careful. A high concentration of the virus can turn people into zombies instantly. This is easy. Gabriel took out a piece of cloth and blindfolded himself, and the screen went black. I turned to Minister George and asked, can he do it? Minister George, shouldn't I be the one asking you this question? But it's not me boasting. My son's combat skills are the best in the military academy. There were sounds of fighting in the earphone, and then came Gabriel's rapid breathing. I've taken care of one and captured Victoria. Damn it, the one with the teleportation ability ran away. Team B reported, the interception failed. The teleporting player, player 27, took the virus. He has gone to the main pipeline of the ventilation system. My mouth automatically reported the coordinates, the equipment room below the central grandstand, where the virus can be directly released into the main venue. "Where is the equipment room?" Gabriel asked while running, his voice a bit due to running. "Turn left, go through 2 doors, and then go downstairs. Put on your gas mask first," I commanded. "Be careful. There are 10 mercenaries from the laboratory there. And they are guarding the stairway." "Received," Gabriel replied briefly. On the screen, we ran along with Gabriel, and 10 mercenaries appeared in front of us, holding weapons in their hands. The picture was interrupted for a moment, and there was a commotion in the communicator, which seemed to be the sounds of intense gunfire and fighting. When the picture was connected again, Gabriel had already rushed into the equipment room. In the equipment room, Harrison was standing in front of the main control console of the ventilation system, holding an open silver suitcase in his hand. "Stop," Gabriel shouted, but it was already too late. Harrison turned around, with a strange smile on his face. "You're too late." In the ventilation pipeline behind him, a light blue gas was being sucked into the system. Gabriel pounced on him, but he disappeared in an instant. "It's too late. The virus has already entered the pipeline. There is only one way, Gabriel. You must destroy the main fan. It's behind the wall on your right." Just then, 3 mercenaries rushed in from outside the door. Gabriel got into a fight with them, and he watched as the blue gas was sucked into the system. At this time, the 3 mercenaries covered their throats and fell to the ground in pain. The entire equipment room was filled with the virus, and they inevitably inhaled a high concentration of the virus. Gabriel took the opportunity to grab a fire axe and struck the wall fiercely. After a few blows, the wall broke open, revealing the huge fan device. He swung the axe at the power supply line of the fan. Sparks flew, and the fan stopped roaring, but the concentration of the blue gas in the equipment room was even higher. Although Gabriel was wearing a gas mask, his skin was broken during the fight, and the virus contaminated his mucous membranes. The 3 mercenaries on the ground twisted and roared strangely. Their skin gradually decayed, dripping with pus, and their eyes turned blood red. Seeing such a scene, Minister George clenched his fists. He was worried about his son. The special forces outside the door subdued all the mercenaries. When they were about to rush in, I quickly stopped them. "Going in now is suicide." "But Gabriel," there were dense beads of sweat on my forehead, but my mouth said firmly, "Just leave Gabriel alone in there." Minister George suddenly looked at me, his eyes full of shock, but he had to trust the judgment of my ability to tell the truth. I said to Gabriel under pressure, "You were infected in a small area of your mucous membranes, and the rate of is slower than these 3 people. Hold on. Once they are immediately attack their brainstems." Gabriel lay on the ground, gasping for breath, and said to me half-jokingly, "Okay, Hannah. If I can't hold on and turn into a zombie, please ask the people in Team A to eliminate me." I said. "You won't die." 8. Time passed by minute. The 3 people twisting on the ground stood up one by one with their extremely uncoordinated limbs. Seeing a living person, they pounced on him like flies seeing blood. Gabriel picked up the fire axe and barely blocked the first zombie that rushed up. The strength of the zombie was beyond imagination, and the handle of the fire axe was almost broken. Gabriel endured the intense pain, dodged the attack of the second zombie, and with the help of the momentum, he jumped up and struck the back of the head of the first zombie with the axe. The zombie fell to the ground with a thud, but the third one had already pounced on him. Gabriel was knocked to the ground, and the axe flew far away. The zombie pounced on him, and its fangs were only a few centimeters away from his neck. My heart instantly rose to my throat. At this critical moment, Gabriel freed one hand, pulled out a military dagger from his waist, and stabbed it into the temple of the zombie, destroying its brainstem. The zombie twitched a few times and stopped moving. Gabriel gasped and pushed the zombie's body away. The other 2 zombies saw the body and immediately pounced on it to devour their own kind. Gabriel picked up the fire axe, chopped off their heads, and smashed their heads with the back of the axe. 3 blue crystal stones, about the size of peanuts, emitted a strange light. Due to the intense exercise just now, the blood circulation accelerated. Gabriel groaned in pain, fell to the ground, and his limbs began to twitch. Ferocious blue veins appeared on his face, and his skin surface began to fester. "Swallow the crystal stone," I commanded. Gabriel took out the crystal stone from the zombie's head, which was still stained with disgusting pus. "I refuse." "Swallow it quickly if you don't want to die." Gabriel wiped the crystal stone on his clothes and swallowed it in one gulp, and he even retched a few times. He took out a container prepared in advance from his pocket and put the other 2 crystal stones into it. Only after he had done all this did I let the people in Team A put on protective suits and gas masks and go in to carry Gabriel out. The people in Team B successfully captured player 59, Isaac. And all the equipment that had been interfered with began to recover. Suddenly, the alarm in the venue rang, and the emergency broadcast began to evacuate the people. It turned out that zombies had suddenly appeared in the sports venue. Seeing that the plan to spread the virus through the ventilation system had failed, Finn immediately activated Plan B. More than 20 zombies hidden underground were released into the venue, in the camera. Some things with twisted hands and feet and festering bodies rushed towards the crowd. Those people panicked and began to run towards various exits. 30 Special Forces soldiers quickly took their positions, but it was like trying to put out a fire with a cup of water when facing a panicked crowd of tens of thousands. The venue security personnel also joined in the evacuation, but the situation was already out of control. At the same time, Gabriel let out a painful cry while lying on the stretcher, and his hands began to emit a faint blue light. The crystal stone, the physical carrier of the system, was now fusing with his nervous system inside Gabriel's body. I waited anxiously. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes passed. The scene was in chaos, with people lying on the ground everywhere. Although the Special Forces soldiers eliminated all the zombies, many people who had been bitten were lying on the ground, moaning in pain. And blood was flowing all over the ground. In the surveillance footage, Gabriel stood up unsteadily, with blue veins bulging on his face, but his eyes were unusually clear. "Let me get closer to those who were bitten," he said through gritted teeth. "Don't act on your own," Minister George objected. Gabriel tore off his gas mask, revealing his skin glowing with a blue light. "I can feel them, every cell and every nerve in the people present here." On his arms, blue veins were bulging. But unlike those of the zombies, these blood vessels emitted a faint blue light. "Hannah, I think I can control the cells." His teammate helped him get closer to the first person who was bitten. That person had his thigh bitten through, and there were black-blue vein patterns all over his thigh, slowly spreading towards his heart. The man grabbed Gabriel while crying and shouting for help. Gabriel placed his hand near the man's wound and closed his eyes. The blue light under his skin suddenly intensified, and the black patterns on the bitten man's leg were like withering flowers, getting smaller and lighter. Finally, the patterns completely disappeared, and even the wound was gone. "This is simply a miracle," Minister George asked excitedly. "This is Gabriel's special ability." Although my ability to tell the truth had already informed us that Gabriel's special ability was biological manipulation, and he could repair the cells of primary infected people that had been infected by the virus. He was the only antidote in this apocalyptic game. After saving 10 people in a row, Gabriel fell into a coma due to overusing his ability for the first time. The Special Forces team quickly took the 27 crystal stones they had obtained and flew back to the country on China's most advanced supersonic aircraft. 9. In a secret base in Beijing, Gabriel and I, together with the chief scientists, were studying how to make use of the crystal stones in the underground research center. We have selected 27 potential ability users and are ready to attempt to awaken their abilities, the scientist said excitedly. "Gabriel, I'm not trying to dampen your enthusiasm, but what if the awakening fails? I obtained my ability by swallowing the crystal stone, and the process almost cost me my life. So we have improved the method." The chief scientist took out a blue syringe. "We have extracted the energy essence of the crystal stone, diluted it, and injected it. Theoretically, it will be much safer." The experiment was carried out in a special isolation room. The 27 selected people entered in batches, and each person received an injection of the energy from one crystal stone. The whole process was closely monitored, and they were ready to deal with any accidents at any time. Finally, everyone successfully awakened their abilities: fire ability, metal control, super strength, invisibility, sound wave manipulation. Minister George looked at the test report, unable to hide the joy on his face. "We have our own ability army." I sat in the monitoring room and provided ability guidance and training suggestions for each awakened person through my ability to tell the truth. "What's next?" Gabriel asked. "Finn won't give up easily," I said. "We must reveal the truth and let the world know about the existence of the apocalyptic game and the zombie virus." This will cause panic. Compared to the panic caused by an unknown disaster, the panic after being informed is much more controllable. After an emergency meeting, the highest leadership made a decision. The next morning, China announced all the information about the apocalyptic game and the zombie virus through a connection with the high-level officials of various countries, including the evidence of the cooperation between the BL4 laboratory in the Eagle country and Fin. The Chinese representative played the surveillance video of the Eagle country youth games and the complete evidence of Fin releasing the virus. All the representatives were shocked. The representative of the Eagle country stood up immediately and denied it, saying that China was smearing them. This is a fake video shot in front of a green screen. China's smearing of the Eagle country like this. I will take it to the international court and impose additional tariffs on you. The representatives of European and American countries shook their heads and said it was ridiculous. The representatives of Asian, African, and Latin American countries remained silent, and some countries with close relations with China said they would pay attention. Fin deceived the president of the Eagle country, saying that using a virus war to strike the whole world. By the way, it's not the first time the Eagle country has done such a thing, so this time the president believed Fin. But he didn't know that Fin's purpose was to destroy the whole world. The Chinese representative seriously warned all countries, Fin has modified the virus, and the incubation period is as long as 14 days. After we stop the disaster at the Eagle country youth games, hundreds of unaware citizens of the Eagle country carrying the virus have taken flights to all parts of the world. After cutting off the video conference, China immediately announced the closure of all borders, the cancellation of all international flights, and the activation of a national emergency response plan. Checkpoints were set up between cities, and those found to be abnormal were immediately quarantined. With the help of my ability to tell the truth, Chinese scientists developed a rapid detection method that could confirm whether a person was infected within 30 minutes. The shelters were fully opened, and the urban population was evacuated to safe areas in an orderly manner according to the plan. The National Army entered the highest state of alert, and special forces were stationed in major cities. At the same time, disasters began to occur in other parts of the world. Those countries that refused to believe the warning and advocated "Long live freedom" paid a heavy price. The large screen in the monitoring room was divided into more than a dozen windows, showing real-time images from all over the world. In the center of New York City, a wave of zombies broke out from the subway station. The army was caught off guard, and Manhattan Island fell within just 3 hours. In the financial district of London, the government was reluctant to believe in the existence of the zombie virus until No. 10 Downing Street was breached by zombies, and then they began to respond urgently. But it was too late. In Shibuya, Tokyo, someone suddenly collapsed and mutated in a crowded area, triggering a stampede, and the infection spread rapidly in the chaos. New Delhi had become a living hell, with severed limbs and zombies floating in the Ganges River. Paris, Berlin, Rome, one city after another fell into chaos. However, those countries that listened to China's suggestions in a timely manner suffered less losses. The Lion City implemented a national lockdown, and the army took over the streets, controlling the infection to the minimum extent. The Bear country activated the underground shelter system from the Cold War era, and the population evacuation was efficient and orderly. Surrounding countries such as the Monkey country and the Elephant country established biological isolation zones with the assistance of China, temporarily blocking the spread of the epidemic. Standing in the command center and looking at these images, Minister George said in a complicated tone, "We issued a warning, but not everyone was willing to listen. Human beings are never short of wisdom. What they lack is humility." I replied softly. In contrast, all the people in China had been transferred to the underground shelters. The entrance of each shelter was guarded by the army to ensure the safety of the residents. The underground agricultural technology ensured an adequate supply of food. Controlled nuclear fusion provided an inexhaustible source of energy. People lived and worked in peace and contentment, with no worries about food and drink, and they could still work normally, surf the internet on their mobile phones, and watch live broadcasts. The detected infected people would be quickly transferred to the isolation center by supersonic aircraft, and Gabriel would use his ability to cure them there. Externally, our special forces obtained enough crystal stones, and all 578 ability users awakened their abilities. In the Operation Command Center in Beijing, Help requests from countries around the world kept pouring in. Many countries requested China to share its response plan and treatment technology. China dispatched expert teams to jointly assist them in combating the zombie virus. At this time, some people couldn't sit still. 10. The global disaster had lasted for 3 months, and most countries had fallen into chaos. One day, I was checking the global epidemic data in the underground command center when I suddenly heard someone shouting in the player system. In just 3 months, 12 out of the 60 players had disappeared. Their avatars turned gray. Among them, player 60, who had threatened to kill Finn, was also gone. Player 23, Finn. At all players, listen up now. Presumably, you all know that I am the player chosen by the system. I created the virus, and I can also modify it. Other players are no match for me at all. Why don't you all join me, and we can rule the world together? The chat channel immediately exploded. Player 5, why should we believe you? Player 18, yeah, I can just survive on my own. The supplies I've stocked up are enough for me to last until the end. Player 23, Finn. Player 18, there seems to be a strange smell in the fresh air system of your underground house today. Player 18, what did you do? Help. About 10 minutes later, Player 18's avatar turned gray, and he went offline. Player 23, Finn. Player 27 and Player 30 have joined me. Player 30 has a built-in positioning system and can locate the positions of all players. Player 27 can teleport and bring the virus right to you. So have you considered cooperating with me? The players present were all intimidated. Player 5, but the system said that only one person can win in the end. Player 23, Finn, I've said it before. My goal is not to be resurrected. I didn't have such great abilities in the original world. Nor could I obtain supreme power. I'm really enjoying myself in this world now, and it's really satisfying to hold the power of life and death over the whole world. As long as I say the game doesn't end, everyone can keep on surviving, and those who resist me, I will kill them all. Suddenly, he at me, however, if you all want to join me, you have to show your loyalty first. Bring the head of it, Player 22, to me. Player 7, did Player 22 offend you? Player 23, Finn, I just can't stand idiots. I want to kill her a second time. I had someone ask my ability to tell the truth why Finn had run me over and killed me. Was it a mistake? My ability to tell the truth told me that day, Finn had quarreled with his girlfriend and saw me crossing the road with a big smile on my face. He couldn't stand the fact that an ordinary person could be so happy, and in a bad mood. He accelerated and ran me over, accidentally losing his own life in the process. Finn sent me a private message. Hannah, it's still not too late to surrender. I know you've joined China, but how can the national strength of mere China compare with that of the world's leading country, the Eagle country? Now the president of the Eagle country is like a dog in front of me, convex, a gesture of disdain in some contexts. I closed the chat window and, by the way, exited the player interface. We have thoroughly studied all the player information. Player 27's teleportation can only move to any location within 5 kilometers and cannot penetrate plasma-facing materials, so I'm in the safest underground command room in the world, and he can't get anywhere near me at all. Finn finally realized that my ability combined with the power of the country was his most troublesome enemy, but it was already too late. This madman ran me over and killed me while speeding, and now he wants to kill innocent people in this world. I will make him pay the price. 11. I sat in front of the monitoring screen in the command center, watching the live news broadcast from the Eagle country. Their president was giving a national speech, pointing the finger directly at China. This disaster is a biological weapon released by China, he said angrily, slapping the podium. They developed the zombie virus and deliberately spread it to weaken the Western world. That's why they have controlled the situation so perfectly in their own country while we are deeply mired in the crisis. The Eagle country will seek justice from China on behalf of the people of the whole world, the secretary beside me said angrily. They can't afford to lose, so they start shifting the blame. This is typical of the Eagle country's style. I shrugged. They are masters at shifting the blame. It was an extremely shameless accusation. It was clearly their own laboratory that had cooperated with Finn to create and release the virus, but now they were blaming us instead. In my original world, such things had also happened. Even in this game world, the Eagle country still has the same face. Before long, the live broadcast was cut off because the capital of the Eagle country had fallen. The wave of zombies overwhelmed the defense lines around the White House, and the Capitol building became a paradise for zombies. Judging from the satellite images, the president's helicopter fled in a hurry. The so-called world leader is just like that. In the image, I suddenly saw Finn's shadow. I nodded to the secretary, and she immediately asked me a question. What is Finn doing there? What's his purpose? Finn said that the reason why China is powerful is because of Hannah. As long as the president orders a saturation nuclear strike on China and kills Hannah, the Eagle country will still be the world leader. The president of the Eagle country has been used by Finn, and they have reached an agreement. The president will launch a nuclear strike on China, and Finn will control the zombies to attack other countries to help him stay in power permanently. I'll report it immediately, the secretary exclaimed. My heart sank. A saturation nuclear strike means that the Eagle country wants to drag China down with it. Those in power who only care about their own status don't care about human lives at all. China immediately activated the highest level of alert. 3 hours later, the alarms suddenly rang in the command center, deafeningly loud. Multiple intercontinental ballistic missiles have been detected being launched, a military personnel reported loudly. The targets are several cities in our country, and 10 of them are carrying nuclear warheads. My heart rate increased, but strangely, I didn't feel afraid, because I have no doubt about the ability to tell the truth. Activate the Heavenly Shield system, the military minister ordered. Dispatch the Phoenix team. I turned to the large screen and watched the images of our anti-missile system and the ability team taking off. This 5-person team awakened by the crystal stones is one of our most powerful combat forces. Nuclear warheads flew towards China's territory as densely as raindrops. The Heavenly Shield system, like an impenetrable net, intercepted all the nuclear warheads in the air. Suddenly, an intercontinental missile descended from space at supersonic speed. This was the most powerful nuclear missile of the Eagle country. A figure was seen rising from the ground and blocking the missile with bare hands. Another person tore open the space-time and sent the missile into space. A girl with double ponytails flew up, her skirt fluttering in the wind. She formed seals with her hands and directly froze several nuclear missiles in mid-air, with a wave of her hand. All the nuclear warheads turned into powder. This was the first time our special ability team appeared in front of the world. China thoughtfully broadcast it live globally, allowing all those who used our satellites for free to see these scenes. Netizens exclaimed one after another. Is this fucking a superhero drama being filmed? This is a live broadcast from our country. It can't be fake. There are already zombies. What are people with special abilities? Our country resists the Eagle country's missiles on its own and shows pleasant goat for us behind the scenes. Seriously, I'm so touched. This gives so much a sense of security. It's also broadcast live to the whole world to show the big shots. Our product showcase. Impossible. I heard the panicked voice from the military channel of the Eagle country. They are catching nuclear warheads with their bare hands. This violates the laws of physics. It was our turn to fight back. Under the guidance of my telling the truth ability, we developed the Azure Dragon system, a directed energy weapon that can precisely strike targets without causing large-scale casualties. 5 blue lights shot out from our launch base, traversed the atmosphere, and accurately hit the nuclear weapon launch bases, military command centers of the Eagle country, and the secret base where Finn was located. Through satellite monitoring, I saw the military facilities of the Eagle country paralyzed one after another. The power grid collapsed, and the communication was interrupted. In the face of a rapidly developing China, the Eagle country was simply no match. A few hours later, our satellite intelligence showed that the president of the Eagle country had turned into a zombie. Finn was right beside him, surrounded by dozens of players who had defected to him and thousands of zombies. Finn broadcast in the game world, Hannah, I won't let you win for a second time. From now on, I am the god of the game world. 12. His zombie virus has evolved. The advanced zombies not only have intelligence, but their speed, endurance, and combat power have all been upgraded by 5 levels. Zombies were flooding all over the world, and Finn could control all of them. He thought of himself as a god. He wouldn't give China time to develop its technology. He wanted a quick victory. Killing me would mean destroying the whole world. Just then, the alarm sounded again. a large number of aircraft have entered our country's airspace, the officer exclaimed. They are the strategic bomber group of the Eagle country. The number exceeds 100. On the screen, countless red dots were swarming towards China's territory from all directions. They are not loaded with bombs, but with thousands of advanced zombies and players. Finn's counterattack came faster and more violently than we had expected. Gabriel rubbed his hands eagerly and said, "Then let the tempest be more violent. Fly towards Area D," I commanded, my eyes fixed on the red dots approaching on the screen. They want to carry out a concentrated airdrop in southern China. The Minister of the Military Department immediately ordered, "Activate the Skynet air defense system. All air defense missiles are ready." It's not enough, I shook my head. These advanced zombies can change their directions in mid-air, and it's very difficult for ordinary missiles to intercept them. Dispatch the Phoenix team. Within tens of seconds, 5 specially made fighter jets took off into the sky, with 2 ability users on each jet. This was our strongest air force. Through the fighter jet cameras, I saw the enemy's bomber group. They used to be the strategic weapons that the Eagle country was proud of. But now they had become the transportation tools for zombies. The cabin doors were open, and they were filled with blue-eyed zombies that were jumping down, like the arrival of demons. "Look at those zombies," an ability user exclaimed. "They can change their directions in the air." Indeed, those zombies could actually change their trajectories like bats during free fall to avoid the interception of our missiles. What was more terrifying was that they were still holding weapons in their hands. "Now the zombies can use guns," Gabriel raised his eyebrows. "This is a bit interesting. Our ability users didn't show any weakness." The ability user with the fire ability spread his hands, and the whole sky turned into a sea of fire. A large number of zombies were burned to ashes. The ability user with the wind ability set off a tornado, tearing the enemies to pieces. The ability user with the electromagnetic ability made the enemy aircraft short-circuit and crash. And the players also fell from the aircraft one after another and got into a fight with our ability users. The players were full of confidence, thinking that they were the ones chosen by the system, and the ability users were definitely no match for them. But gradually, the players began to panic. The ability users they regarded as NPCs were not inferior to them in ability, and were even stronger. Some players were killed, and some were injured. During the battle, zombies kept pouring in. And the number was really too large. Some zombies broke through the defense line and successfully landed on the ground. "Ground troops, please note that the enemy has landed in Area D7. The voice in the communication center was full of tension. I commanded calmly, "Activate the Iron Armor plan." A special force composed of thousands of soldiers wearing special armor and ability users quickly assembled and formed a defense line at the landing point of the zombies. They were equipped with weapons specially designed to deal with zombies, high-energy pulse guns, concussion grenades, and biological inhibitors. "Finn, you underestimate China too much," my ability to tell the truth said. "We have been prepared for a long time." I stood in the command center and provided tactical support for the front line through my ability to tell the truth. The battle situation gradually became intense. In the sky, our ability users had a fierce encounter with the airdropped zombies. On the ground, the special forces engaged in close combat with the landed enemies. Although the enemy was numerous, we were well prepared. Every city had a defense system, and every area had an emergency response plan. China's defense was as solid as a rock. In the game world interface, the system that hadn't appeared for a long time suddenly showed up. There was excitement in its voice. "Wonderful, really wonderful. This small world is so surprising, dear players. Please make the battle more intense. The more you kill, the more chances you have to get rewards." Player 23 has performed excellently and won a system reward, the ability to deprive any player of their ability. I had already learned the truth of the system through my ability to tell the truth. There were creatures from a higher dimension observing these small worlds, and they were the customers of the system. The more the small world surprised them, the more rewards the system could get. Player 23, Finn, use it immediately and deprive player 22 of her ability. Player 22, me, system, you are helping player 23 cheat. The system whispered to me, "Don't think I don't know your plan." As soon as the words fell, I felt a force being stripped away from my body. I stared in horror with wide eyes and breathed deeply and rapidly. Gabriel beside me noticed something was wrong and immediately examined my cells. My ability has been taken away by the system. I was so weak that I could hardly stand up. Minister George immediately asked me questions, but I couldn't answer anything. For the first time in such a long time, I couldn't predict the future and couldn't provide accurate information at critical moments. I fell into deep panic. In this battle, the system was favoring Finn because it needed more killing rather than redemption. Relax, it's up to us next. Minister George patted my shoulder. Let Gabriel take you to rest, but, go. With Gabriel's support, I left the control room. 13. The number of zombies was already countless, and they engulfed every inch of land like a tide. Finn appeared in the global live broadcast. On the screen, Finn stood on the ruins of the White House in the Eagle Country and gave a speech, with dozens of players and thousands of zombies by his side. His appearance was no longer much like a human. His skin glowed with a blue light, and his eyes were full of a bloodthirsty look. The end of human civilization has begun, he said arrogantly. If China surrenders and hands over Hannah, I will end this farce. Otherwise, everyone in China will become part of the zombie army. People of China, it's up to you to choose. Hannah is just a useless person now and is of no use to you. Handing her over can avoid becoming a zombie. It's a good deal, right? The light of the crystal stone in his body became stronger and stronger, and the fluctuations of the system's energy filled the air. Gabriel slammed his fist against the wall. He's dreaming. The system has started to merge with him. The system has come to this small world in person to create more fear and killing. It wants to use the fear of the Chinese people to make everyone fight among themselves and disintegrate us from within. I said, very well. I'll be the first one. Gabriel suddenly chopped his hand and knocked me out. Vaguely, I seemed to be stuffed into a secret container and taken out of the safe house. I don't know how long it took, but the container was opened from the outside, and Gabriel woke me up. Wake up, we're at the Antarctic ice cave. There were 10 extremely powerful ability users around me. Has the system not noticed? I asked worriedly. Don't worry. This jammer is very reliable, but it seems to have noticed now. Gabriel pointed to the ice cave. As early as a few months ago, Minister George and I had learned the essence and weakness of the system through questioning. The ice cave in Antarctica was the connection point between it and the small world. There was a huge crystal stone hidden in it, which was the energy source of the system, similar to a supercomputer. As long as it was destroyed, the system could be destroyed. Our wish was never to win the apocalypse or become the leader of the world, but to help all of humanity get rid of the control of the system. Otherwise, this time it's the apocalyptic virus, and next time it could be global heavy rain. The people in the small world will always live under the control of the system. Our plan was to destroy the energy source of the system. We had been acting according to the plan for the past few months, just waiting for the system to get carried away and come to our world in person. Shortly after entering the ice cave, a harsh alarm sounded in the ice cave. Warning, unauthorized intrusion detected, security protocol activated. It was the voice of the system. More than a dozen aquatic zombies swarmed from all directions. They were incredibly fast and highly aggressive. Protect Hannah, Gabriel shouted, and his hands emitted a blue light as he tried to control these monsters, but he only slightly slowed down the speed of the zombies. The battle escalated rapidly. The ability user with the fire ability boiled the water and formed a hot current barrier. The ability user with the ice ability created ice spikes and instantly penetrated the brainstems of the zombies. The ability user with the electromagnetic ability released an electric shock to paralyze the targets in the water. The ability user with the gravitational ability directly attracted the zombies to bind them together. I was protected in the center, my hand tightly holding the device containing the quantum code, and my hand was full of sweat. Gabriel tried his best to control the few closest zombies, and his sweat soaked through his protective suit. Keep moving forward. The deeper we go, the closer we are to the source crystal stone. We moved forward with difficulty. As we went deeper, the ice cave became narrower and brighter. It's almost there. I felt the strange vibration in the air. The source crystal stone is ahead. Suddenly, the voice of the system sounded again. This time, it not only echoed in our minds but also throughout the entire ice cave. Hannah, you never thought of killing anyone. You are not a qualified player. I have already deprived you of your ability, yet you are still so stubborn. A blinding blue light appeared at the end of the ice cave. A huge crystal was suspended in the air, 100 times larger than any crystal stone we had seen before. it seemed to have a life of its own. Pulsating slowly and emitting powerful energy fluctuations, that's the source crystal stone, correct? This is the connection point between me and the small world, and also the source of my energy. The system seemed very proud. In view of the fact that you are the first player to see it, I will make your death look better. Before the system finished speaking, the ice caves suddenly shook. Dozens of advanced zombies emerged from the ice layer around the crystal stone. They were covered with crystal carapaces all over their bodies, and their eyes were burning with blue flames. My guards will turn you into nourishment. The 10 ability users quickly adjusted their positions and formed a defensive circle. Gabriel stood at the front, and I was in the center. Gabriel said to me, Hannah, I will buy you time. Once there is a chance, you approach the source crystal stone and inject the code. 10 ability users had to fight against dozens of super zombies. The ability users used their strongest skills, but the number of guards was too large, and their strength was too strong. Seeing one ability user fall and the other two seriously injured, the situation was extremely critical. Hannah, now, Gabriel suddenly shouted and released all his strength at the same time. His ability burst out with an unprecedented light, and he actually briefly stopped all the zombies. I seized the opportunity and immediately rushed towards the source crystal stone. The system taunted, idiot, do you think you can get close to me? An invisible barrier blocked my way, and no matter how I pushed, I couldn't pass through. Gabriel, I turned around for help. He was already covered in injuries, but he still persisted in controlling the zombies. Try this. He took out a small crystal stone from his pocket, which was exactly the second crystal stone he had obtained at the youth games. Gabriel, it's a part of the system. I took the crystal stone and pressed it against the barrier. A miracle happened, and the barrier rippled open like water waves, creating a gap. Without hesitation, I passed through the gap and came in front of the source crystal stone. This huge crystal was even more astonishing when viewed up close. Its complex internal structure was like a miniature universe. Stop, the voice of the system suddenly became tense. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Cutting off the connection will lead to catastrophic consequences. Is it worse than the apocalyptic game? I calmly retorted, and at the same time activated the quantum code device. The device emitted a soft blue light, resonating with the source crystal stone. The code began to be transmitted, and the internal structure of the crystal stone started to change. There was fear in the system's voice. No, Hannah, I'll let you win. I'll bring you back to life and send you back to your own world. As long as you stop right away. I remained unmoved. Code transmission progress, 10%, 20%, 35%. The ice cave shook violently, and cracks appeared on the surface of the source crystal stone. The surrounding zombies began to decompose and turned into blue particles floating in the air. Hannah, you'll destroy the entire system. You'll never be able to go back. Don't you want to be resurrected? I didn't answer it. All right then, I'll give you all the rewards. There will be countless amounts of money. You can even be the president of the Eagle country if you want. I'll arrange it all for you. Stop quickly, please. Code transmission progress, 50%, 65%, 78%. The system's voice became intermittent. You, this fool. At this moment, the source crystal stone was already covered with cracks, and the energy fluctuations it emitted became unstable. The entire ice cave began to collapse. The skin of the ability users burst out with a blinding blue light, and soon the blue light dissipated into the air. Along with it, their abilities also disappeared. Go, I shouted at Gabriel. Take the others and leave. No, he shook his head stubbornly. I won't leave you behind. Code transmission progress, 97%, 99%, 100%. Code transmission completed. The source crystal stone emitted a blinding light, and the system completely failed. Far away all over the world, all the zombies stopped moving simultaneously. The zombie virus began to decompose, and the catabolic humans returned to normal. Finn, who had merged with the system, let out a painful howl. As the system disintegrated, Finn's body gradually fell apart and turned into blue particles. Minister George stared at the screen and said, "The game is over, Finn." The ice cave was about to collapse. Gabriel picked me up and dashed outside. "Put me down. You can definitely escape on your own," I said on his back. "Shut up," Gabriel cursed. At the last second before the ice cave collapsed, The two of us escaped from the ice cave together with the other ability users. Gabriel put me on the snowy ground and gasped for breath. Hannah, I looked at his face and was deeply moved. Although he usually had a sharp tongue, he was really reliable at critical moments. He continued, "Eat less next time, you're so heavy." The moved feeling instantly turned to dust. I kicked him and said, "Can't you shut up for a while?" A dazzling light wave spread from the Antarctic to the whole world, and all the crystal stones shattered simultaneously. The connection between the system and the real world was completely cut off. At the last moment when the source crystal stone collapsed, I felt a strange sense of peace. My body suddenly began to decompose into blue light particles. Hannah, Gabriel rushed towards me, trying to catch me, but he could only pass through those light particles. "Don't go," I saw Gabriel shouting at me desperately, and I saw the tears of my partners, but strangely, I wasn't sad at all, because at that moment, I understood my destination. "Thank you all." My voice gradually became faint. "I can finally go home." Epilogue. She's awake. Our daughter is awake. I opened my eyes blankly. There was a white ceiling, the smell of disinfectant, and blinding lights. I was lying in a hospital bed, and my mother was holding my hand, with tears streaming down her face. My father immediately rushed into the ward. Apparently, he hadn't had a good rest for a long time, and there was stubble on his face. The doctors and nurses began to examine my body. My mother told me that I had been hit by a car and had been in a coma for 3 months. Finn couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha, so stupid, they really chose it." "What about Finn?" I asked. My mother was taken aback for a moment. "How do you know the driver's name is Finn?" My father replied. "His car lost control and flew into the river, and he died on the spot." "Bah, let's not mention him, he's bad luck." In the following weeks, I received rehabilitation treatment in the hospital. The doctors were amazed at my recovery speed. After being discharged from the hospital, I joined the biotech company that had offered me a job and specialized in developing vaccines. After going through that apocalyptic game, I felt like a different person, with a stronger personality. I would miss the days when I fought side by side with my partners from time to time. One day, I was walking on my way home. When I turned around a familiar street corner, I suddenly bumped into a hasty pedestrian. The folders scattered all over the ground, and he squatted down to help me pick them up. "Sorry, I was walking too quickly." A familiar voice came from above my head. I suddenly looked up and saw a familiar face. "Gabriel," I blurted out involuntarily, "you know me."